And welcome back to Subculture on CentralCoastRadio.com, where we have got a very, very special guest on the show now. We always love playing new music on this show, and we're about to play a brand new single in a moment, but it's from an EP that I've taken a listen to and I've absolutely loved. It's from musician Chris Urriola, who is the bass guitarist for Hollis Brown, but has now gone out and done a solo EP. So we thought we'd actually get Chris on the phone this morning to talk a little bit about this amazing new single and amazing new EP as well. Welcome to the program, Chris.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Now, Chris, like I said, this is an absolutely fantastic EP. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the journey that got you from being a bass player for Hollis Brown to being a frontman for yourself.
Of course, and I appreciate the kind words about the EP. It's been a fun journey. You know, everyone has experienced the pandemic. It was a global thing, and for me as a bass player, I found I didn't have my band to play with. You know, we were able to do some virtual stuff, and we even did backyard parties and shows, kind of breaking the rules in the States, so to speak. But in the end, I just found my guitar, and you know, during that lockdown back in April 2020, just feeling all the riffs, all the ideas that I've always heard. You know, I love STP, I love Radiohead, STV, Stone Temple Pilots. You know, I was finding all these riffs that I always wanted to hear and jam along to. And before I knew it, I was writing these A sections and B sections in different parts of the songs. And I actually accrued about 30 different song ideas. So then I took it from the acoustic guitar to finally inviting old friends to the studio. It happened to be Southburst Sound, which is now known as Walden Studios. If you're ever visiting Brooklyn, it's a great studio to visit, just super low-key. I call it New York's drum room because you get the best drum sounds. And invited my oldest friends to join me and said, almost, you know, impromptu, hey guys, you're going to do this, this, and that. You know, this next section's B, this next section's A. And they really just followed along, and after 5 or 6 takes, we knocked out 30 songs, 30, you know, skeletons to work with. And what you hear with the Illustrator EP is 4 of those selections. And I can only share that there'll be certainly a lot more songs in the future, and you know, using the same instrumentation and also adding some new electronic elements too. I'm very excited to branch out of our traditional 5-piece rock band approach.
Talking to a lot of artists over the years who have gone out solo like that, they've said that when they start talking to musicians about coming in to help them with the album or the EP, a lot of their friends say, oh, I was waiting for this day, I knew it would happen. What was your friend's reaction when you rang them and said, hey, can you head into the studio? I want to do this.
It was you know, they were very excited. But as I mentioned, you know, teaching these tunes in a rather quick way. I remember I had a drummer friend of mine who I love. He goes, you know, we were on like our 3rd take of one of the tunes called Bop. And he's like, do you even know this song? So I was like, guys, just bear with me. This is going to work. Need not worry, you know. So I had a mixed reaction. Some folks really wanted a polished idea, but I came in knowing the parts to a degree. But other songs were based off of a voice memo, and they were almost written right then and there. I said, all right, at the top of my head, all right, we're going to go to this part as the bridge. And it was actually a lot of fun. It felt like an old Motown approach where you have your session musicians and, you know, it felt like we were recording jingles like from the 1950s or something. It was a really cool feeling having that spontaneity of creation.
There's a lot of deep topics explored on the EP itself. What were some of the things that were inspiring you to write when you sat down to work on the tracks?
Well, you know, I mentioned, you know, Loss. One of my favorite tunes, one of the most touching tunes on the album is the 3rd track called I Miss You. And it really, it dealt from, you know, reading on the news, just the mounting numbers based on COVID, you know, just the numbers. I don't really have to get into it, but, you know, we were all very numbers based. We saw, you know, how much loss could possibly take place. And that was a key indicator. That was a key inspiration as far as like the the solemn feeling of that tune specifically. But to answer your question, I think lyrically, I'm an instrumentalist first and foremost, and I found writing those lyrics was one of the harder parts. It's easy to come up with the musical element of things, but lyrics were a harder part to come up with. And I found that even just sitting on the bus, in New York, big bus rider, these ideas would come to me quickly. But it was always based on a rhythmic pairing to the tune.
Yeah.
The band members would make fun of me that half the show was all gibberish. Like half of us prepping for this was a lot of gibberish in terms of lyrics. So finally, when I did get that word on paper, it certainly helped the creative process.
When you say it was those bus rides that kind of inspired it, was that looking at people around you, or was that just the place where you go to think?
It is certainly the place I go to think half the time, and you could ask any New Yorker or any city dweller. I always have a notebook on me, and rarely do I look up. I have a general idea of what my surroundings, of course, but you always want that little bit of privacy that, a book or a CD player or, just your music in your headphones can give you that little bit of privacy in such a packed, condensed city.
Yeah.
But it was really a place where I could think and enjoy the public, enjoy the people around me, but not really, always getting to my destination and on a forward direction.
Talking of that destination, did stepping out as a frontman, did that ever make you nervous, or was this something that you were always excited about?
I think it came naturally in terms of leading the guys in the studio. I never really played sports as a kid. That was the musician.
Yeah.
Not to disparage sports, because I do love sports. A big e-gamer, but I really felt like that stereotypical quarterback, or that leader of the pack kind of thing. Because when I was in the studio, we were just able to, do it one more time, guys. All right, we're gonna do it again. Everyone was on board with it, and to compound it with my most recent live show and leading the band, that, there was such satisfaction in that. But I do have to share that it is a little bit difficult, being that outward voice when you're talking to your team, you're talking to your bandmates. Because, I've been a sideman, and I've always been a gung-ho sideman, a gung-ho band member, even with Hollis Brown or any of my old past bands, just always gung-ho. But if you don't have the members that are entirely gung-ho at that very moment to your satisfaction, that can be a little bit jarring. But I always have to remember, it's all for fun. Musicians want to play the music and they want to have a good time. We don't necessarily need so much pressure. And as a frontman, new band leader, I may have added more pressure than, is absolutely necessary. Sometimes it's just good to take it easy. Hey guys, we're going to have a chill rehearsal today. No pressure. And I've started to incorporate that when it comes to rehearsals. I'll say, hey guys, we're going to have a free jam. No set today. We're just going to, no pressure or preparation. Let's just play some music. And I think that's a good balance to keep the morale up.
Yeah. You mentioned before that you recorded 30 tracks when you were in the studio. How did you narrow that down to the 4 tracks that we hear on the EP?
So I found that just the vocal melodies of, Sintro, which is the first tune, Oh No, which is the second, and the fourth tune, On, they were the songs that were right at the tip of my tongue, so to speak. They were right in front of where I needed to just sing them, and I felt most urgently the need to get them out. And I was surprised with the third song, I Miss You. I had written that on the guitar. My sister had just left for Greece. She lives over there, and I'm tasked with watching her cat. So it was this touching moment where I'm like, hey, I missed my sister. She's left. I kind of feel for the cat. The cat misses her owner, her mother, so to speak.
Yep.
And that song somehow made it into the mix, and I didn't even record that with the 30-song collection. That was its own separate, thing that just came about. But as far as paring down the other tunes and deciding what to use, I imagine, Illustrator Volume 2, Volume 3. And almost like Bjork had created her debut album and then also post, I find that this backlog, even though it's brand new music, it's still a backlog for me because I have a ton of stuff to share with everyone. I'd love to just get all those tunes out, combine them, maybe 3 EPs, turn them all into a mega LP, and that way I can get into the new, which is, I have to say, more punk based, and also to a degree, like fellow Aussies, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It has that type of energy too, and I'm very excited to share that when that comes out. Hopefully next year, I'd say.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to hear that as well. You recently had your launch at Mercury Lounge. Tell us a little bit about that launch. How did that go, and what was that like, stepping out on stage as a frontman?
That was an absolute dream come true. I'll say the opening bands performed flawlessly. This mixed media artist named Holly Overton, aka Holly O, as well as 2 local bands that I love, Jupiter Boys and Night Music. They helped create just such a positive environment. And I really didn't even peek my head out from the green room. It's downstairs in Mercury Lounge, so it's in this dungeony basement. But finally, when it was time for showtime, the room was really warm, astounding applause, lots of video taken. I have to track all that video down, but the performance felt really great. I didn't feel rushed in any way. It felt like where I'm supposed to be. And with Hollis Brown, I played a lot of nice big stages. We've even played Mercury Lounge a couple of times as well, and its bigger cousin, Bowery Ballroom, etc. But with the whole encapsulating environment, I know I can redo that again, and not because of an error, just recreate that sensation. Excuse me. Yep. Recreate that energy. It was so dynamic and so powerful and positive. Everyone left with a smile on their face, and that's really the goal for me in music, and I think for a lot of people, is to keep people smiling and just have a great time.
Definitely. So where to now for you, Chris? Are you going to look to take the music across the states? Are you going to look to go international? What's the next plan for you?
Yeah, I'd love to see what my options are as far as going across the pond, maybe to Europe. But with this effort, I feel that, letting the song swim on the internet, on our major playlists, like the Subculture radio show, any play is perfect for me at this moment. I think letting the tunes swim is a big priority, and just sharing that information with folks and letting them hear the EP. As far as the live show goes, it'd be great to wrangle the band and get some more stuff down. I feel that the Mercury Lounge show is so astounding, I need to top it off rather. So, I want to find a comparable venue, and I want to find a comparable event, and that might take a little bit of time to really top that show. That debut was a real dream come true. So I certainly don't want to play at the local brewery. Not to disparage that, but I always love the big stage, and my bandmates will always fault me for that. But I need a big stage for what we're doing here, and I love a place like the Mercury Lounge or any comparable music concert venue. So that's really the goal: is just sit tight and listen to the tunes, and share the tunes with folks.
Awesome. Well, mate, we are going to play Cintro on our show right now. So what would you like to say to everybody out there, not only before they listen to this track, but before they go out and listen to the EP as well?
Yeah, it's a short EP, 15 minutes, and I think, just listen right through. Every song blends into each other, and it really feels like its own story, and I can't wait to hear what you all say. You can always find me on my Instagram at Chris Urriola, Urriola.
Well, mate, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honor having you on the show, and for all of our listeners out there, here is Cintro.
Thank you so much.